Hey minions, welcome to Crank It Up. This is the Postmortem for Game 19, featuring Rockstar Ghosts versus Changeabout Werewolves. I had Rockstar Ghosts winning this matchup, and they did in 3 games, winning the first game and the third game, but losing the second by a significant margin. And I'm here to tell you that after having significant time to think about these matchups, I think Rockstar Ghosts get incredibly lucky. And if I could do it all over again, I would have bet on the Changeabout Werewolves to win, because I think more often than not, they'd actually be the team that pulls ahead. It just so happened that they won in this circumstance, and they did so because of a coin toss. And I'm not even joking. Literally, a coin toss decided their fate. In Game 1, I could really feel like the game was slipping away. They are just so fast, Changeabout Werewolves, which I'll talk about in a second. But if you didn't read the log, you would know that, if you did read the log, you would know that No Moon played a crucial role, and I called it the MVP of this game because it was. With Rockstar Ghosts, I love to solo a base because it's so easy to do. Even if it's a high breakpoint, which may actually benefit the Rockstars anyway because it could activate their draw, and with the Cream Puff Man, let them use another play. But in this particular situation, I have to play Rockstar Ghosts even more aggressively than I normally do, because Changeabout Werewolves can be extremely aggressive. In addition, they have a special that can let me jump onto a base at the last second, and I have to play around that. I have to assume that he has it, or that he's going to draw it eventually, and if he gets to Moon Touched, drawing 2 extra cards per turn, he's going to get it, and then my solo base play will be taken out for an easy second place victory. So I have to take a chance on No Moon that he doesn't have his special, or that No Moon would blow up the only base where he has minions, and it's a 50-50 shot in a 2-player matchup. And that's exactly what happened. I rushed everything to try and break No Moon, and we're going to do a coin toss. Whether it's heads or tails, I forget exactly what we said. Heads would be the base that he has stuff, tails would be the base where he doesn't. Let's just use that as an example. It happened to come up heads, blowing up all of his minions, removing his Titan, and that actually ended up being the difference in the game. If they get 3 points there, which they would have because he did have his special, then I don't win that game. In addition, I stop him from going big on another base, which gives me more time to actually execute my own game plan. Why did I bet on Rockstar Ghost to begin with? I thought that both teams were pretty evenly paired in terms of speed. Changeabout Werewolves are a little bit more consistent with their card draw because they have easier access to their Titan, and it's really just about finding a moment to use their Titan. Whereas the Cream Puff Man requires a significant type of play in order to bring out their Titan. Yes, the two can clash, but I really don't want to be clashing because then it can bring out his Titan back and give him an opportunity to clash my Titan, which is not as easily replayable. To do so, I'd have to stay at a low hand size, and there are times when I like doing that, but not against Changeabout Werewolves, because it means that I don't have the cards in hand in order to compete with his raw power. I also thought that although the Rockstar Ghosts had the greater upside, they had Shady Deal. When all else failed, I could VP farm for extra points to make up the difference, and that's something that Changeabout Werewolves couldn't touch at all. And yes, Shady Deal did play a role in Game 1. It actually helped me overcome a base that he had soloed by himself to even the score. And every point matters. And if we do end up with a tie, Shady Deal could be the tiebreaker, so I know that it's significant, particularly with the Rockstar shuffling. But let's talk about Changeabout Werewolves. I feel very strongly now that they were underseeded. When I'm seeding things, I'll often talk about a team that I like slipping. What that means is that there are other teams that I like more, and I want to place them high. They just kept slipping from position to position. This happened with Changeabout Werewolves, which I really like. It happened with Disco Dinosaurs, which I really like. What ends up happening is that other people like them more and they make a case for it, and that's what gives them a more normal position. But I think even at number 13, where they were, that's still too low, and that they should have been seated better. And I give a lot of credit to Smashness for refusing to let them go. He was a big part of the reason why they got bumped up as much as they did. But I'm realizing now after the fact that they probably should have been even higher, even better, because they just have some crazy upside. When I did their team video, Father Time 89 was talking about a statement I made that I didn't feel that the Great Wolf Spirit was broken with this combo. With other combos, I did believe that he is broken, but I said specifically that it was on the edge of acceptable with Change About Werewolves. I need to walk back and admit that I was wrong, and now, yeah, Great Wolf Spirit is broken with this team. They can still lose, but it just can give the appearance of being unfair given how certain circumstances play out. Just now, we were trying to do the math to figure out how many other combos have a 14 power potential with just one card, just two cards in hand, and having the Titan in play. So I'm talking about no setup, other than the Titan being out in play. And Change About Werewolves can do 14 power instantly. They can do a Bruiser who can double tap to get to 6. Then you can play the Touch to give him +3 power twice to get to 12. And then Great Wolf Spirit can make that a 14. That's a very big drop for only 2 cards. And they can do that twice because they have 2 copies of the Touch and they have 3 copies of Bruiser. It's hard to remember that Bruiser is actually a tier 3 minion and that you have 4 copies of Huffy. If they had 4 copies of Bruiser, then this would be even more ridiculous. And he's indestructible, so even if you wanted to seed it in advance, that's something that you can't really do a lot about. The best that the Rockstar Ghost could do to be to make contact with it, but that wouldn't be the best use of make contact in my opinion. I'd probably rather get Solar Shout for the extra actions because that helps me reduce cards in my hand and can do a lot of crazy things with an extra action, like Cream Puff Man provides. So Change About Werewolves can be really scary, and you saw that. There's also a clear first turn advantage that I was conscious of the entire time. And it's weird to talk about because I want to win every game, and I know how important it is to win game 1 every time. But specifically, I knew that for Rockstar Ghosts to have a chance going into this matchup, that they absolutely needed to take game 1. I didn't want them to have an elimination battle in game 3 where Change About Werewolves are going first. Because if they do go first, then in all likelihood, the Great Wolf Spirit is coming out in turn 2, and there's virtually nothing that Rockstar Ghosts can do about it. The reason why that is because of Huffy. If you play a Huffy on turn 1, and I don't destroy it, which would be really expensive and a bad turn 1 to basically just dump my hand, I wouldn't do that. Then you play on one base, I'll play on another. I could possibly use a Ghostly Revival to play on the third base to try and hedge my bets, but that's not a good use of Ghostly Revival in my opinion. So I probably just play on one base, if I even play a minion at all, which isn't necessarily guaranteed with this team. So then at that start of turn 2, Huffy will move to a base if necessary, or I'll just play another minion on that base. If I play on the Huffy base, then Huffy will move to the unoccupied base, and then you'll play at the third base. It's pretty inevitable that Great Wolf Spirit is coming out in turn 2. When I'm going first as Rockstar Ghosts, then maybe I can do something. Maybe I kill his minion on turn 2, or maybe I can make sure that I have presence on 2 bases to make it harder for him. It's not a guarantee. That's why it doesn't surprise me that Rockstar Ghosts got blown out in game 2. I think the score was 15-8, which doesn't surprise me because Change About Werewolves are going first. They have full access to their Titan. They can just run and run crazy, and that's exactly what they did. So you got to give everything that you can in order to win game 1. And I think that if the situation had been reversed, if Change About Werewolves took game 1, which again, they lost on a coin flip, maybe Rockstar Ghosts can win in game 2, but I don't see them winning in game 3. But we play for the results that we actually got. This is not a theoretical exercise. This is based on pure results. And Rockstar Ghosts got lucky. But luck is all you need sometimes. You know, a different coin flip, and we're having a completely different conversation. But the other aspect is that you have to put yourself in a position where a coin flip gives you the occasion to win. In other words, I still have to be able to solo No Moon in the first place in order to have that conversation. If I can't solo No Moon, then the coin flip is pretty much moot because he's going to get 3 points anyway. And as much as I think that Changerbot Werewolves, may deserve the victory in the long run, that doesn't take away from what Rockstar Ghost did in Game 3, and even in Game 1, to kind of close the gap. They have a 2BP play for Shady Deal and recurring it immediately. That's been fantastic. They have the groupie plays to activate Door to the Beyond, which is fantastic. I like to think with Rockstar Ghosts that it depends on what action you get in your discard pile, because that will control the narrative for their game. If you get across the divide, then you will be focusing on playing groupies over and over again. You will want to keep your groupies in your discard pile because you can get across from the divide from your discard pile. If you think about it, you would do a 5 groupie burst once, then you'd play across the divide from hand to do it again, and then you'd play across the divide from the discard pile to do it again, and then if you got lucky because of shuffling, you draw it a fourth time, and you do it again. I don't think the game would last long enough to do it a 5th time, even though you could. But that assumes that you get across the divide. Another key card is the Dead Rise with Cream Puff Man. I really like that because the Dead Rise can do a number of things. One, it's instant access to Cream Puff Man. You can dump your entire hand and all at once and get Cream Puff Man. You could also play a Haunting from the discard pile for 6 power because you're guaranteed to if you bring out Cream Puff Man, you're guaranteed to have less than 2 cards, so Haunting becomes a 6. I even find that using some of the Rockstar specials, like Power Ballad for +1 power, that's a great action to use from your discard pile. Sometimes I might even consider using it twice in one turn, because I can play it, then discard another card to play it again for a localized +2 power boost. That's effectively like Door to the Beyond, except it's not set up in advance. When you have mass plays, mass groupie drops, when you can get 6 power from the discard pile to meet the 5 power from Cream Puff Man, and then potentially another action, which they can get with Monarch or Classic Rocker, as I mentioned in their team video, drawing a card so that you can play another action from the discard pile. They have multiple extra plays. They have Cream Puff Man from the discard pile and Haunting from the discard pile. They have multiple ways of getting +2 power on a base, whether it's Door to the Beyond or playing Power Ballad twice. That type of versatility is what put them in a position to even keep pace with Changerbot Werewolves. And, even though it does seem a little bit deflating in some aspects that a coin toss was the difference, it wasn't the difference in Game 3, and game order matters significantly. Because again, like I said, if Game 3 were to happen first, I'd probably feel less. Actually, I don't know how I'd feel. It's an interesting question. If you're going to have a coin toss, would you rather have the coin toss decide Game 1 or Game 3? I guess I'll have to think about that some more. But as I mentioned before, the fact that Rockstar Ghosts can put themselves in a position where a coin toss can have significance, that shows that they truly deserve to advance to round 3. Because they won Game 3 without it. Who's to say that they wouldn't win again, if we went to best of 5? I'm just saying that I don't feel as confident that they would. So Rockstar Ghosts will be advancing to round 3. Congratulations to them. We'll see you tomorrow for Game 20. It's hard to keep track of the numbers because I have to align it with the days. Let's shut it down.